Friend or foe, here we go. It's the F&P News.
Scare myself, not on me lightly. Scare myself.
Chaos Radio, Channel 6 for 12, 2/3 and a fourth. Picks the hits for all you kits out there.
There is something in our air.
People say not to worry about the air.
Hello, everyone.
Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
And not try to shed the light on this issue, knowing every breath they take is laden with these metals. I have been forced to conclude that there is no greater or no more immediate threat to anything that lives and breathes than the global geoengineering programs, short of nuclear catastrophe.
We're at a point where they have painted us so far into a corner that and the release of the methane, people should remember that term and that scenario, methane mass expulsion from the Arctic, because that is changing our planet by the day. Now I believe the power structure is actually panicked. They know they have torpedoed their own ship, and this is a genie you can't put back in the bottle. And they are now spraying horrifically in the Arctic. I mean, the Arctic almost never sees sun. And so now they're, I believe, attempting to try to hide the totality of what they have done at any cost. And again, every day they continue these programs is quite literally pounding more nails into our collective coffin. So the best thing that could happen right now is for these programs to be halted and the planet be allowed to respond on its own. Because if it's not allowed to try to find equilibrium from the damage that's been done, I think our horizon is about as dark as it could get.
I didn't believe in chemtrails at first. I know a little bit about atmosphere. I knew contrails. I've been watching them since I was a kid. But recently I saw some trails over the skies that I captured some photos of. And even given for atmospheric conditions, winds at the higher latitudes, the assumption is still that the contrails are formed from vapor. They're ice crystals. Well, ice crystals, they can blow apart from each other, but they just don't create. I cannot in any way that I know of physics that ice crystals can be spread out over such a large area in a consistent large area. I just don't see it. If they're ice crystals, no. How? But if they are, in fact, as the conspiracy theorists suggest they are, at least they have the decency to call them theories, because they are educated guesses. And again, it's our task to figure out which of these conspiracy theories are correct and which of them are the results of paranoia and bad data. Look at what Edward Snowden has brought out. Look at Congress investigating the purchase of all of those hollow point bullets by the Homeland Security. I mean, some of the conspiracy theories are in fact more than just theories. However, they are marginalized regardless, and many theories have some incredible merits, one of which I hope to do a video on soon, talk about the electric universe a little bit. Their theories are fascinating, what they show in connection with Mars and the bizarre geological features that just defy explanation.
pH changes to the forest floor. We have very extensive studies from the U.S. Department of Agriculture on the soils in our region, and those soils have changed in 5 to 6 years. The pHs have changed in this area as much as 10 to 12 times toward alkaline in 5 to 6 years. I've personally been in the forest testing with USDA soil scientists who just scratch their heads and seem to have no explanation for incredibly profound changes in pH, which is affecting the ecosystem here tremendously.
Aluminum buffer action, aluminum hydroxide is what we think it is, plus the barium carbonate, strontium titanate, strontium oxides, barium oxides, probably some aluminum oxides in there, that this has apparently driven our acid soils about 20 times more alkaline to about 6.8.
There are simply too many dots here that connect. Our skies are almost never blue anymore. That is a named consequence of geoengineering. lost sunshine hitting the planet right now is beyond belief. If people look up the term global dimming, they will see that fully 20% of the sun's rays that reached the planet several decades ago are no longer reaching the planet. I mean, that's a profound change that few people even know is occurring. And you have very visible occurrences in the sky from the aircraft, a very visible sun blocking, expanding, dingy trails that are exactly what geoengineering patents describe.
Doing something with the atmosphere is that you can be engaged in weather modification. Historically, weather modification in the United States began to be looked upon in the 1940s as something that people would want to do.
This is music to be murdered by.
Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
Lamb veal and some good old wine. This is the life for me. But don't shit where you eat, my friend.
7 people, 5 men, 2 women, were caught trespassing at the Quabbin Reservoir. Sorry if I have that name wrong. Part of Boston's drinking water comes from the Quabbin. These 7 individuals hail from Singapore, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan. They told police they were chemical engineers and recent college graduates, citing their educational and career interests as their justifications for getting close to the reservoir. They say the individuals had no warrants and that there was no indication of a crime greater than trespassing being committed. All 7 were released. What do we have? 7 people, from the spooky places too. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, right? Yeah, big flags went up for me here. Now, the fact that they don't release anybody's name, another big flag for me. Some people in some place, they give you Singapore, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan, and then where they live now, Amherst, Cambridge. 7 of these chemical engineers all went to the same school. And what the fuck are they doing at the Boston Reservoir at night? If you're going to do a study, if you're doing some kind of, even an independent study, are you going to sneak in at night?
Because we are not allowed to expose some of the pieces that make up the sensors.
Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
You get to look at pretty plastic curtains.
Also known as wide area persistent stare, Argus is the equivalent of having up to 100 predators look at an area the size of a medium-sized city at once. This image was taken 17,500 feet above Quantico, Virginia, and covers 15 square miles.
Here, nestled at the foot of Utah's Wasatch Big Brother.
We know it's big. It's located here in Utah, and it'll be a massive storage facility, I believe.
As the world reacts to the news that the United States has been secretly mining unprecedented amounts of global phone and email traffic, the U.S. National Security Agency is building a new place to do it bigger and better. What we did see was that the sprawling, super-secret campus is big, really big, 5 times the size of the U.S. Capitol. Inside, data will be measured in zettabytes, a size so big most people have never heard of it.
Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
This is as close as you get to the NSA's Utah Data Center, but in an era where you can store a small library in a flash drive the size of my thumb, the amount of data that can be sifted and stored in those mammoth buildings is truly staggering.
Is this fear-mongering? I don't think fear is going to be being traded on the open stock market anytime soon. There are things to be afraid of, absolutely, certainly. Our job is to figure out what they are.
This is an urgent government message. Please stay indoors and close all windows.
I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it.
Don't get the news, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radio Land. On KOS and KOS AM.
Seed, no matter where they come from. And for Monsanto, an agri-giant with massive lobbying power, another victory. 1995 to 2011, the cost per acre rose 325%. This according to the Center for Food Safety.
Is your radio active? Is your radio active? Is your radio?
So what they did In 1969, you can search John Goffman online, they raised his limit 100 times. So what we're now being told is the Environmental Protection Agency's safety limit is already beyond 100 times John Goffman's limit. And his limit already causes increased cancer. Because we already live in an increased cancer environment, the 1940s, according to conservative medical studies, cancer is quadrupled in this country, per 100,000 people.
What is happening to my skin? Where is that protection that I needed?
How cold can cold touch get?
Is that I think if anything, the crackdown on leaks may be skewing the leaks that we're seeing toward the more extreme and large scale, because if you're going to give up everything, if you're going to give up your freedom, give up your life as you know it, you might as well go for
That's why I don't want to be a Messiah. Messiahs die young.
Well, what you have is in December, all the laws that protected national security whistleblowers to go forward were wiped off the books. So there's really no avenue. And yes, when someone is raising such serious concerns at the head of the National Security Agency is lying to Congress.
Science won't change you. Looks like I can't change you. Leave me alone. I'm going home. This party sucks. This ain't no party. This ain't no disco.
Radio and television host Tom Hartman is going to talk about the crimes of the oil industry and why it's time for them to pay up for destroying this environment.
What this is about, Pap, is that the only industry in the world that doesn't pay to have its garbage taken out is the fossil fuel industry. If you want to run a restaurant, if you run a business, I mean, we generate paper here at the, for our radio and TV program. We pay to have the garbage taken out. The fossil fuels industry's trash, and the Supreme Court has agreed with this, is carbon dioxide. And they do not pay to have that taken out. Instead, they dump it into our air, and we pay to have it taken out in the form of paying for the cost of hurricanes and mile-wide tornadoes. And these are the externalities of the fossil fuel industry, in addition to cancers and things associated with, the high fractions of petroleum that are the result of burning fossil fuels and the mercury from burning coal and all these other things. They don't pay for any of this stuff.
This is an urgent government message. Please stay indoors and close all windows.
Are suing Have you heard about this? Texaco for negligent drilling practices, resulting in the creation of a cancer death zone the size of Rhode Island.
Más de 1,000 millones de galones de agua tóxica, de agua venenosa, fueron arrojadas a los esteros, a los ríos y pantanos del sector.
I was embarrassed to be an American when I first saw this devastation, even if it's legal.
Children are crying, animals are dying, governments are lying to you.
The USA back in 2005 under Cheney, basically when he used to be the chairman of Halliburton. Halliburton is the biggest producer of fracking fluid on the planet, and all of a sudden he gets the EPA in 2005 to say, not only can you not find out what's in any of the chemicals that are being pumped down into the ground, but we're not going to regulate it anyway. It's been completely exempted. So,
this ain't no joke. This ain't no joke. This ain't no joke. This ain't no joke.
Us are here because of women's rights. Others because of unemployment or fracking.
Hey, hey, we're the junkies.
Facilities. So injection well facilities are used for fracking waste. Fracking, creates an enormous amount of wastewater. When they frack the wells with 2 to 9 million gallons per well of fluid and water, that fluid has to come back up and be disposed of somehow. The industry has a huge problem figuring out how to dispose of it, so they inject it back down into the ground. And what the report says is that fault lines are becoming critically stressed by the process of injection wells. It also says that the fracking itself can cause minor.
But don't shit where you eat, my friend.
Well, the oil and gas industry has been attacking the film, the families in the film, the scientists in the film consistently for the last 3 years since it came out, and they're at it again with this new film. It's extraordinarily disheartening to see that this is their strategy. It's deny, 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 spread money around, try to influence politicians, spend lots and lots of money in the media to convince Americans that it's a great idea to drill 1 to 2 million new gas wells. Those are the projections. The oil and gas industry has leased more land than the total landmass of California and Florida combined.
Who, and I use this word intentionally, terrorizes you? Is it some hapless human being halfway around the world?
Where they were discussing all the bad PR that they were getting and how to counter it. And what they go on to do is explain how they're using former PSYOPs officers, psychological operations officers, who are newly coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan to write local laws, to develop techniques to divide local landowners. That's Matt Pizzarella from Range Resources talking about that. Chesapeake then goes on to talk about people who are fighting the gas industry, like landowners, like you just saw Jeremiah G., as insurgents. And one of the PR spokespeople for Anadarko, another huge petroleum company, says that what they should actually do is download the Counterinsurgency Manual, which is a 300-odd page book about how to deal with an insurgency in Iraq and Afghanistan. These are terms of war, and it was very, very shocking to see that. Terms of war, and it was very, very shocking to see that. But it goes hand in hand with a strategy that's very overt in the media, which is to buy. You can't turn on the TV except for perhaps this show, where you're not going to see ads from the natural gas industry. And we're seeing also editorials and these kinds of things on blog posts seeded to do things to try to discredit the very clear science, and in most cases the science that the industry themselves did. This is following the tobacco industry's playbook. The tobacco industry for decades sponsored bogus science, went out to try to create doubt in the media as to whether or not the cigarettes were harmful to people, and that strategy was developed by a PR firm called Hill & Knowlton. The America's Natural Gas Alliance hired the same PR firm in 2009, and we're seeing that same kind of strategy of creating doubt and creating a false debate in the media.